I know Professor Magoha on a personal basis. He's been my boss when I was still a lecturer at the university. Okay. And I think he has what it takes to take this country to great heights of prosperity on matters of education.
Right.
Now, remember, Professor Magoha was the chairman of the Kenya National Examination Council when we had a lot of rot there. And him being there as the chair, he brought a lot of reforms. And one of the objectives of NEMIS, the National Education Management Information System, was for purposes of getting data for the students, so that when the government plans for the 100% transition, it will be easier to be able to track in terms of monitoring and evaluation. But as you clearly put it, one of the critical documents here was the birth certificate. Unfortunately, the government had not rolled out proper strategies, particularly when it comes to the villages. We had very difficulty in terms of accessing the birth certificates, and that's why maybe some business people somewhere saw it as an opportunity, and they had to issue these fake birth certificates. And I want to salute the government for extending the time frame so that those students, maybe in one way or another, who are maybe victims of the business people who gave them the fake.
Is it actually possible to issue a fake birth certificate?
Yes, it is possible. We've gone in government offices, even title deeds. You've seen people have 2 title deeds. Business people, when they see an opportunity, and that time they were scrambling for this birth certificate, which is actually...
number plate.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've seen this country, everything is possible. Yeah. So these innocent Kenyans, they didn't know. And a birth certificate is a very important document, even before you get a passport. So yes. I think Huduma centers, wherever they are, we need to increase the capacity. And maybe if we have any conspiracy with even the officers who work inside there, the law should take its course.
You are itching to comment. How possible is it to have actually, because a birth certificate, it's just to show that you were born on a certain date. Why would you want a fake one?
No, I think you must realize where people are coming from. And if you really go to the ground, people who are not able to access these offices, you should know what they go through. First of all, it is completely illegal and unfair for anyone to register students just because they do not have birth certificates. Right. Because it is the fault of the government in the first place that they do not have access to birth certificates. I have been to offices in Uasin Gishu, even as early as 6 months ago, where I was going to help people. I stormed into that office and asked why parents were queuing for weeks on end and months on end for their... For people to get birth certificates. I even raised with the Deputy County Commissioner in Uasin Gishu County. So yes, it is an immediate crisis. So you can imagine poor parents who have no idea how to escalate it to the next level, eventually are told by, some clever con artist who tells them, I think I can find you a birth certificate. Remember that many people do not know what is a real birth certificate and what is a fake birth certificate. So you must come from that understanding that everybody is not at the same knowledge level as you and me and Gladys and Mushimi was here. So that is really, so it is the responsibility of the government. First, they must make it easier for people to get birth certificate. They must make sure that there is a timeline within which they must issue birth certificate. I know people who have failed to be able to release bodies out of hospital because they can't get the NHIF to clear the bill because they do not have the birth certificate of their child. And I have intervened in cases like that, again in Uasin Gishu County. So it is known that that has become a problem there. So we should resolve that problem. But also secondly, as a country, I hope we can go towards, I don't think that technology came to us as news now. It's been building up since the way early 90s. So we should have known that one day we should get there. So the fact that we still get involved in education, registering people biometrically, then the firearms people want to do different registration, then the identity cards are doing there separately, Electoral Commission is doing there separately, the ID card is being done separately. That tells you there is something. We work in silos. In other countries, one document has all that data on one document. In a country like South Africa, you're traced from the time you're born, it's registered. When you die and a death certificate is issued, you're automatically deleted if you're over 18 from the voters' roll and automatically removed from the education system list and the social security system. So yes, we need to have our Ministry of ICT sit down and come up with a holistic...
Does that now make a case for the NIMS?
Yes. This is what I wanted to say. This makes a great case for the NIMS. And this is why, I mean, and exactly what Honorable Boss is talking about. When you're born, the government should know you exist, and this is your number. And that number, you walk through with it all the way to your death. So that, and this is what Interior and ICT are doing by NIMS. And you see many people now going to court and all over the place and saying, why NIMS? NIMS because of this. There's no reason why you have been born, you have been here, you have you're now in class 8 or you're now in form 4, then you're being told, we don't know you because you don't have a birth certificate. The government should know you from the time and NIMS is going to sort out this problem.
All right, we'll come to... Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, what I wanted to say is, in fact, it was going to be a scandal of huge proportions to just the register people on the basis of birth certificates. As has been said, it's the responsibility of government to ensure people have birth certificates. But people don't have birth certificates. I do drives in the villages all the time for people to get IDs and birth certificates. You realize women with children who are quite old coming and lining up to get birth certificates for their children. The children are 10 years, 12 years, 14 years. They're coming to line up now to get birth certificates. Even when they register in those mobile drives, for the birth certificates to come from, you know, wherever headquarters to...
Or they tell you there is no more papers, that they've run out, and the government printer has not printed the birth certificate. That's the story I always hear.
It's a big problem. And you saw the other day, even the CS, Dr. Matiangi, really calling out people in Narok for saying, how is it that people can come here for 2 months, 3 months without getting birth certificates? When they come, they use bus fare, you know, every day. If you tell somebody to come from the interior of Narok to come, you know, to the headquarters and tell them to come 3 times, they will give up.
All right. Honorable Antonio Loch, what then is the solution to this? Gladys Boshele has talked about resolving the issue. NEC perhaps should be the one to give the answers. The fact that they shouldn't be deregistering some of these students. They need to look into the system and find out. Because then again, at the end of the day, it is this child who gets to suffer. It is this child, not the parent, not NEC individuals, not members of parliament, not the hospital they were born in that they were supposed to get their registration from. It is that student who has been studying all their lifetime and waiting for it.
In fact, I must say this, if they deregister them, I will make a class action suit personally.
You'd make a class action suit. So then what is the way forward? Does NEC need to look into their system before they go about and deregister some of these students?
First of all, I think we need to spend more resources because really there's an issue about government responsibility, but it is also a constitutional entitlement for every citizen to be registered at birth and given an ID at 18. It's something that should come as default. It's something that you should transit to automatically when you get to that point. So the first thing that I think we need to do, and I know in Parliament we've had like 2 or 3 motions where members of Parliament have urged the government, please bring the registration process to the constituency level. The question about access becomes very central. It's actually very crucial to know that just getting 100 shillings from somebody from Mathare to get to Nairobi, to queue and then be told there is no paper, go back and get a photographer and get, it's actually really prohibitive. And you get people waiting until it's time to go do an ID. And then you're told, for example, you get mothers. I have cases of mothers who are 20-something, 30 years, young mothers. They don't have IDs, leave alone birth certificates. They don't have IDs. So when you want to vote, then you're told you need an ID. Go and get your husband to sign a certificate or an affidavit. We should make these things very easy. Or again, look for your parents to write or something of the sort. These things are very prohibitive. We need to cut down on the paperwork and the bureaucracy, and we need to bring this down in terms of Huduma centers to the constituency.
All right. Of course, you can get details of that story on page 4 of the Standard. There are several comments from the Kenya Secondary Schools Heads Association, and unfortunately cannot do that because we need to go into a break. But when we come back, we continue with the conversation, but specifically talking about the way forward and as far as the gender rule is concerned. So you're back in a moment. You can text us your views on 22422 or Twitter as Citizen TV Kenya, Samgituku at @Zinzi_K. Back in a moment.